Hello Pixies, and welcome or welcome back to my channel. It's Zoe here, and today I have for you a simple reading vlog that I'm just going to probably be calling a magical autumnal reading vlog, because I'm just going to read some magical-esque books that I've been really wanting to read. So I'm basically just going to read what I want. The reason I really wanted to do this reading vlog now is because I just got one of my most anticipated books of the year in the mail. My mom so kindly pre-ordered this book for me last year, and then she sent me a package with this book along with a couple others. One book to see if I would like it, that was The Honey Witch, and I haven't really talked about it on my channel, but I have lost some of my books recently. So I also got sent some books that my mom and my brother owned too. So I was able to get some of those books back. And I got that package yesterday, but in this package was this book, A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saff. And if you don't know, this book follows Lorelei, and Lorelei is a folklorist, and she is currently on an expedition with her mentor, her rival, who is also being mentored by the same person, and who she is slightly falling in love with, as well as 6 eccentric nobles. But then her mentor is murdered, and they got to solve this murder as well as continue on their expedition, because they have been sent forth by the king to find this mythical spring. But she's not in it just to do what's right for the king. She also wants to use the spring and its magical properties to make her wildest dreams come true, which is becoming a naturalist and be able to visit the lands that she's only read about. And if that doesn't sound like an amazing time to you, then I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what to tell you if that doesn't sound absolutely amazing to you, because I've been excited for this book since last year. Like, I have been so looking forward to this, and it's in my hands. And also, this cover is absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at that. Like, I'm obsessed with that. Let's be real. I'm obsessed with that. And I think it's so beautiful. So I will definitely be reading this book. This might be the book I'm going to start reading. Another thing I have is that I have a package once again from my mom. Thank you, Mom. I know this is from Pango. I know one book that's in here, which was another book I had lost. Got a little thank you note. That's very cute. Got a little thank you note. Oh, and some spooky stickers. That is awesome. Let's look at the stickers before we get into the books. So we got this spooky cat on a stack of books with a witch hat on. Very cute. Very Halloween. Books are better than people. How sweet. Very magical energy with that. And this one says books are a uniquely portable magic, which I'm really into. Books are magical. And this one says it's not hoarding if it's books. And it also has a cat on it. Ugh, I love cats. My cat ditched me not that long ago. She was like up there, and then she went off. But thank you to the shop for the stickers. Really appreciate it. But this one might actually be going on my October journal page because it's the spooky cat. It's time for the October reading journal page. Maybe I'll also do that in this vlog. But that is quite exciting. But now it is time to get into the books. Oh, the first one here. I don't know what the second one is yet, because the first book she sent me, she told me was what it was. And that book was actually in my Magical Autumn TBR, if you wanted to go look at that. But I mentioned there too that I lost this book. But as The Wicked Deep, It's holographic in person. The one I had beforehand was a paperback bind-up of The Wicked Deep and Winterwood, but the bind-ups are kind of hard to find, and like I didn't really care about the bind-up, I just cared about owning both the books. But The Wicked Deep was the one that I was really wanting to read, which is why I bought the bind-up. I want to read Winter Witch too. It's not right at this moment, but she replaced my Wicked Deep, which is really cool. Might also be reading that because these both seem like such a vibe, and like together, I'm so excited right now. And this one, it takes place during the summer, so like I understand like, oh, why did you put in your autumn TBR? Because it's witchy and magical and like kind of gothic, and that's what I'm in the mood for fall. But where I live in Florida, it's hot outside. It basically still feels like summer, so this might really suit the vibe. Is one that I don't know currently, but I might have an idea based off the back cover. It's in bubble wrap right now. I'm not flipping it around to look at the front. And you're like, why? Because I'm ridiculous, that's why. Sorry if this sounds horrible to you. That is so exciting. It is The Once and Future Wishes by Alex E. Haro. I've been dying to read this book. Every single time I go into a Barnes & Noble or any bookstore, I go and look at this book and I pick it up, and sometimes I even carry it around a little bit, and then I always put it back because I'm like, well, I shouldn't be getting another book. But it's a hardcover version. I've only ever seen paperback in store, to be honest with you. Now this is a used book, and this one you can tell has been used. Maybe it's in a little bit of rough condition, but like, hey, listen, I don't really mind, to be completely honest with you. I don't know if I'll be reading this one in this vlog, but definitely a different vlog during the autumn season. I am so excited about that. Thank you, Mom, because I know you're watching this. Thank you. But these two are definitely going to be read in this vlog, and another book. And if you're like, well, why not The Once and Future Witches? Because I was already between two books for this vlog that I wanted to read, and I don't want to even consider that one. After I read these, we'll see which book I'm in the mood for out of the two that I'm thinking off the top of my head. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want you to be in the comments being like, why didn't you pick the other book? So I'll tell you when I get there. But these two are definitely going to be read, so I'm really excited to read them. And I won't be excited about every single book I read, to be honest with you. I don't really go into any book thinking I'm not going to like it. I don't really believe in hate reading things. Like, I really don't. Sometimes it ends up I read a book and I don't really like it, but that's always disappointing. I want to love every single book that I read. It's no surprise that I'm really excited about these, but these ones I actually believe are going to be new favorite books of mine, and I'm very excited about it. So, yeah. That's all I got really for this portion, I guess. I guess I'll see you when I'm doing something interesting, question mark. Am I going to be doing anything interesting? Hello, and welcome to the first reading update for A Dark and Drowning Tide by Allison Saft. I am not very far into this book. I am currently on page 7, so I haven't gotten very far into it. I haven't finished the first chapter. And I was reading this last night, and let me tell you, the very first page, I was already obsessed with the writing style, with our main two characters who we've already been introduced to. This book, if it wasn't obvious by description, is told through Lorelai's perspective, and she's prickly, and like, boy, do I enjoy that. It's already such a good time, and I'm already obsessed with this book. And I thought that today I would have more of a chance to read it, and maybe before my first update I would at least have finished the first chapter, but probably, you know, decent chunk of this book to tell you how I feel about it. But alas, haven't been able to do that. I'm already obsessed with this book though, and I really want to read more of it. So like, I'm probably going to do that in just a moment. But also, there's a wee bit of like other stuff, and like this is like a vlog. It's a reading vlog, yeah, but you know, you're gonna see some other things more than just books. And the reason I haven't really read more, well, it was late last night when I started it, so it makes sense why I didn't start it then. But the reason I haven't started more today is because rather quickly a tropical storm has formed into the Gulf of Mexico and is heading straight for us here in Florida. It's heading straight towards central Florida and it's gonna go over basically the whole state, well, the whole like peninsula of Florida. And that's really nerve-wracking because by the time it makes landfall, at this point they're thinking it's going to be a category 3, but there's rumors that it might actually get up to a category 4, and that is quite scary. So I've been trying to prepare for that and figure out what to do. I'm still trying to figure out if we should leave and go somewhere safer or if we think we're gonna be safe here. I don't really have time for reading, but there's nothing more I can do right now but wait to see as it gets closer. But I'm gonna continue on with A Dark and Drowning Tide. Oh, and this author, Alison Saft. I knew Alison Saft sounded familiar. She wrote A Far Wilder Magic, as well as a fragile engagement. I can speak English. She wrote both of those books, and both of those books are books I want to read and will be reading probably soon-ish. Like, by soon-ish I mean like the next year. That's why the name seemed familiar to me. But I'm gonna read some more of this book. I'll catch you when I have an update. Hello friends. It's been a while. I'm pretty sure I put some text on the screen saying why this vlog is so weird, but instead of scrapping it like I would be prone to do if things didn't go 100% correctly, I'm going to keep going. That's what I've decided to do. I'm just gonna go with it. Listen, things happen, life happens, and we gotta keep going. And I really want to give you my thoughts on the 2 books that I read during Hurricane Milton when I left. A Dark and Drowning Tide, which I did give 2 updates for before I finished it, is probably one of my favorite books of 2024 so far. I already gave you the description of this book, but I want to tell you that this book was done immaculately well. And I know I updated you like within the first few pages when how I knew it was going to be a great like rivals to lovers book. And I guess this could be considered kind of a spoiler, but I don't really think so because it says that they're gonna fall in love on the back. Lorelai convinces herself that she hates Sylvia, but the entire first page and a half, 2 pages, well, really the first multiple pages, are all about Sylvia. She constantly thinks about Sylvia. I love the aspects of folklore and stories woven in and how they were done so, and they are more so done. And like, you know how we would break down stories now, like, this is what blah 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 is about. And like it gives us the short run through of the story without telling us the whole thing. And I thought it was really clever, especially the ones that were like, I don't know if any of them were specifically made up for this book because I don't know every folklore or like story, fable, myth out there, obviously. But some were ones I think I recognized, maybe. And I loved the world also, about how it's about this kingdom that used to be a bunch of different nations and now they are all one nation, but that's not necessarily going smoothly. If this book were longer, I feel like we could have gotten more of that world building, more of that tension, and more folklore. And we could have also gotten more scenes, but that's me really nitpicking. Does it really need that? No, I just would have liked it because I love the book so much and I didn't want it to end, and it's only like 300 something pages, and I would have been happy if it were like 600. But I think that's just me. I think this was told beautifully. I loved the love story. I am obsessed with the both of them as much as Lorelai is obsessed with Sylvia, to be completely honest. I like the fact that characters make bad choices. I think that is more realistic. I liked the murder mystery element. Could there have been maybe a little bit more? Maybe. You could argue it. Like, I don't think it was done badly at the same time. I really enjoyed this story. I love this story. I love this book. This is going to be a book that I really think about for a long time. The book that I read entirely while I was off with my partner's family was The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. And honestly, I love this book too. Did I love it as much as Dark and Drying Tide? No. But would I still say I really love this book and I really like this book and I recommend it? Definitely yes. Was it worth the wait? Yes. Now, if you don't know, this book follows Penny, and Penny lives in Sparrow, Oregon, and Sparrow, Oregon once a year is the swan season. And basically, like 200 years ago, there were 3 swan sisters, and they were accused of witchcraft, and so they were drowned. Now every year, they come back. They possess 3 girls, and they drown young men during the swan season, which lasts from June 1st to June 21st, I believe, because it's the summer solstice when it ends, which is the day they originally died. And this book follows Penny, who is a girl in this town. Her father has been missing for a few years. She lives out on a little island off the coast because there's a lighthouse there, with her mother, who is not doing very well. But everything seems to change when a strange boy shows up and he has no idea what the swan season is. I thought this book was really clever. I thought it was written really well. It mainly follows, like, the Swan sisters, like, what's happening in this town as a whole. I wouldn't say there's a lot of divergence from the main story, but I thought that made it really work. And I really enjoyed reading this book. Like, I really liked how there was the history sprinkled throughout it. I thought it was really fun. I would classify this as a horror with a sprinkling of fantasy, but that's coming from a major fantasy reader. If you are a major horror reader, you might see this as a fantasy with a sprinkling of horror, if that makes sense. I was more so say it's a gothic horror because I wouldn't say anything is overly gory. Well, nothing's gory really in general, except for like a little tiny bit at the end, but really, I wouldn't even say it's gory. It's more just so unfortunate. It's not gory. Definitely supernatural on the horror scale. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I wish I could have updated you while I was reading this book because I was totally like into this story. I didn't want to put it down, didn't want to stop reading it, didn't make myself stop reading it several times. Yes, did I think about updating you like in the car at multiple points? Yes, but then I felt awkward, so I didn't really do that. I wish I could give you more of my thoughts while I was reading this, but unfortunately it just didn't work out that way. These were 2 really good books, and I really loved the both of them, which brings me to the book that I'm going to be reading next for this reading vlog, and that is The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. Now this, what I know about this is that this is a fantasy heist novel, and it has to do with like water wells and like power and something or another. Can't remember the full description right now, but I know it's a fantasy heist, and that makes me think, wow, is this gonna be like Six Crows? I sure hope so. I love that book. So I'm gonna be reading The Drowned Woods next. And I also thought, well, this book and The Wicked Deep were both on my fall TBR, so I thought hey, that's a good way to do it. And also, I thought, hey, I'll read that because all three of these are kind of watery. Was it my intention with the hurricane coming to read a bunch of watery books? No, it just worked out that way. Hope no one's offended by that. It's a little ironic, though. But I thought this would kind of fit with, like, the dark, watery vibes of the vlog so far. So I'm going to read The Drowned Woods next. I'm really excited about it. I haven't really wanted to read anything since I finished The Wicked Deep and A Dark and Dry Tide because both of them were so good. So I'm hoping I'll also love this one and that this will put me back in a more of a reading mood because I haven't really been in a reading mood the past few days. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go read that book. I'm also going to edit. I might do more editing than reading today. That's kind of it for now. And I guess I'll catch you later. I am a bit over halfway through The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. I don't want to say I'm disappointed because I like the story, but I am a little disappointed with how this is marketed. The description for this book is about this character named Myrrh, and she is a water diviner who used to work for the prince, but after he made her do something that she'll never forgive herself for, she decides to leave, and he's been like hunting her all of this time. One of the people who trained her comes and finds her again all these years later and is successful, but he doesn't want to bring her back to the prince. He instead proposes that they go and poison his magical well of power, basically. And they need a ragtag team to do it, heist style. This is how the book is marketed. I think it's a bit of a stretch to call it a heist. And I know I mentioned in the last clip that I was hoping for like Six of Crows energy because magical heists. Hello. But this is nothing like Six of Crows. And I wouldn't really call it a heist either. I would call this like just a magical adventure where they're trying to put a stop to an evil. I wouldn't really call it a heist. I don't think it's as clever. Sure, their plans kind of go awry, but it doesn't really seem like there's plans upon plans, details among details. Some of the characters in this are good, and then like some of them are not so good. And spoiler, there is like a character death in this book, but we don't really feel impacted by their death. Like we really don't really feel the impact of their death at all. We don't really know all the characters on the crew that well, and I guess that could add to some mystery. I just wish there was a bit more detail and that it wasn't marketed as a heist. They're on an adventure, and I am enjoying the adventure story. However, I wish it was a little bit more complex, if that makes sense. But at the same time, I want to be clear. I don't think this is a bad book. I think this is a good book. I think it's a fun book. I think it's fun. But I think it is not a heist. But I'm going to keep going with this. Because, like, I do want to see what happens. I do like the characters I think are a bit more fleshed out. Like Myrrh and Fane and the Corgi, of course. Who doesn't love Corgis? And I really like the folklore and fairy tale elements that are entwined into this book. I think they're really fun. Hello. Hello. My cat decided to pay a visit. I think it's really fun. But this is not a heist. Do not go into this thinking heist book. Do not think of it magical heist like Six of Crows. It is nowhere near that level. But it is a fun adventure story. I don't have a lot else going on. You saw my fried rice lunch. It was good, but like, how do they make fried rice in Chinese restaurants taste like that? I mean, it's yellow 1 and 2 tastes good, and like the fried rice I made, it like tasted fine, but it didn't taste anything like that. So like, how do they make fried rice like that? I have no idea. but I guess that's not very important. I'm going to continue reading my book. Maybe I'll finish it today. Maybe I won't. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to do another book for this vlog. I think the 3 is where I'm cutting it, even though you didn't really see me read the others. But what can you do? You know, what can you do? In this case, nothing really. We're just pushing through. I'm going to go now. I'm going to read my book. We'll see. Talk to you later. I have finished The Drowned Woods, and I've got to say, I know when I updated you yesterday that I was kind of feeling maybe a little bit disappointed based on what I got and versus how this is described. But I gotta say, that entire last section, like right where I stopped, is like right where the story got really good and I was really like enjoying myself. I would still categorize this as a fun book. It's nothing like revolutionary. It's nothing I'm gonna like continuously think about. I just think the setup and the part before this part should have, it could have been done better at the end of the day. I understand why it's a bit slower at the beginning, but I think it would have just been a lot better if characters lied and there was more character interaction. And then like with the final part of this book, we would have been able to more so focus on betrayal and like the half-truths and all these things, and would have made the last part even more intense. And I quite liked the ending, not gonna lie. Like, I understand the like just having characters be quiet makes for this reveal to be like, oh my god, like I wasn't expecting that at all, but it made the first part of this book a little bit boring. If you were looking for a heist, I wouldn't really call this a heist. I would call this a fun adventure book with some darkness seeped into it, and things really don't go how you expect them to at the end of the day. And, you know, my final thoughts are, it's a good book. It's not like a new favorite, but it was good. It was fun. I had a good time reading it. These are the 3 books that I read in this vlog. If I had the normal edition, they all would have also been like the same color scheme, but they all kind of go together vibe-wise. They all, well, have like watery vibes and magical water, which I really enjoyed the vibes of. Obviously, if you didn't get that already, my favorite book of this video was A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I love this book. This book is amazing. I wish there was more clips with me reacting to this book. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out this way. I also loved The Wicked Deep. This book was such like a fun time. This book was such a fun time. Like, it was dark, it was eerie, it was witchy. I loved reading it. Am I sad I didn't really get any clips of me reading this? Yes, because I have absolutely 0 with this one. The Drowned Wood, I would say, is my least favorite of the video, but I still enjoyed it. This is in no way a book I disliked, but I've definitely read better, and the other 2 are much better in my opinion. But I had a good time reading this, and you actually got to see me read this. Did this vlog go to plan? Definitely not. It really, really, really didn't. But you know what? That's okay. It might be a little boring, but you know, boring can be okay. I'm sorry I don't really chat as much as other YouTubers. I feel like I just have nothing like fun going on in my life, and I also feel like my videos seem overly edited, because like whenever I breathe through my mouth when I'm talking, I feel like it sounds really annoying, and then I try to edit it out and it makes the whole video really jumpy. So I don't really know like how to fix that, because it's just the sound of my breathing. Maybe it's because the mic, I have a little handheld mic compared to like a microphone that's further away. I don't know. Plans went awry, but that's okay. I'm gonna post it anyway. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you've also read these books, tell me your thoughts on them in the comments. I would love to know, or just tell me what you're currently reading. I also love to know that. And so I guess I'm signing off now. Okay, bye.